Avoid this mistake if you want to truly transform your life. Many of us get caught up in the wrong habits, focusing too much on what others think, comparing ourselves to people who seem to have it all, or blaming external circumstances for why we aren't where we want to be. But the truth is, these are the very things holding you back. If you really want to change, you need to shift your mindset and start focusing on the only person who can make a difference: you. In this video, we're going to dive deep into self-observation, self-acceptance, and self-improvement, guiding you through the steps to take control of your life. You'll learn how to watch yourself from an outsider's perspective, embrace who you truly are, and challenge yourself to grow every day. And most importantly, we'll show you how to stop comparing yourself to others and start comparing yourself to who you were yesterday. If you're ready to leave behind the distractions, take responsibility, and unlock your true potential, stay tuned. This might just be the most important conversation you'll ever have with yourself. Number 1. Objective self-observation. Watch yourself like a stranger. Take a moment to think about your life. Not the grand moments of achievement or failure, but the ordinary, everyday things you do. The way you react to a slow driver in front of you, the tone you use when you talk to your loved ones, the way you deal with frustration when things don't go your way. Now imagine this: you are no longer inside your own body. You're watching yourself as if you were watching someone else, perhaps a character in a movie or a stranger passing by. How would you feel? What would you think about the choices this person, this you, is making? It's easy to get caught up in the whirlwind of life, where we're always reacting, often without even thinking. We're trapped in our emotions and biases, so much so that we lose perspective. What if we took a step back and viewed our lives more objectively? This is what the ancient Stoics asked us to do. They believed that by observing our actions from a distance, like watching someone else, we could gain clarity about who we really are and how we behave. This isn't about being critical or harsh on ourselves. It's about being curious, like a scientist observing an experiment. Picture this: you're sitting in a cozy living room, your favorite show playing on the TV. The main character is someone very familiar, someone whose every action you know intimately. It's you. Every conversation, every moment of frustration or joy is played back for you to observe. Would you be proud of how you've handled situations? Would you notice things that you hadn't before? Maybe there are moments where you're quick to anger, or perhaps you've handled a difficult conversation with grace. But now, from this outsider's view, you can see things for what they are, without the emotional baggage that clouds your vision when you're living in the moment. Think back to a time when you were in an argument. In that heated moment, emotions were probably running high: anger, frustration, maybe even hurt. But now, from this objective viewpoint, you can see yourself reacting. Can you see where the anger came from? Was it really because of what the other person said, or was it something else? Maybe you were stressed from work, or maybe you hadn't had enough sleep, and that frustration boiled over into the argument. Watching yourself like a stranger gives you the clarity to identify those triggers, to see where emotions rise and take over. This is the beauty of objective self-observation. It takes away the weight of judgment and lets you see yourself as you truly are, raw and unfiltered. It's a chance to learn more about your patterns, your habits, and your reactions without being caught up in the emotions of the moment. It's not about criticizing yourself, but understanding yourself in a way that you wouldn't if you were just going through life without reflection. It's a powerful tool for growth, allowing you to make better decisions and align your actions with the person you want to become. Number 2, embrace self-acceptance, the good, bad, and ugly. When was the last time you stood in front of a mirror? Not to fix your hair or check your outfit, but really stood there and looked at yourself. It's a strange feeling, isn't it? There's something about our reflection that makes us uncomfortable. We're quick to focus on the things we don't like: the wrinkle at the corner of our eyes, the way our nose looks, or perhaps the extra weight we've put on. But what if we took a step back and saw more than just the surface? What if we embraced all of it, the good, the bad, and yes, even the ugly? Self-acceptance is one of the most challenging things we can do, but it's also one of the most liberating. So often we fixate on our flaws, both physical and emotional. We replay our mistakes over and over in our minds, convincing ourselves that we aren't good enough. But here's the truth. Nobody is perfect. Not you, not me, not the person you admire most. We all have our strengths and weaknesses, our moments of triumph and failure. The Stoics understood this well. They believed that true growth could only begin when we accepted ourselves as we are, without denying or exaggerating the truth. Think about a time in your life when you made a mistake. Maybe it was something small, like saying the wrong thing to a friend, or something bigger, like failing at a job or a relationship. In that moment, it probably felt like the end of the world. You might have spent days, weeks, or even years beating yourself up over it. But now, looking back, can you see how that mistake shaped you? Maybe it made you more compassionate or taught you a valuable lesson. The point is, those so-called ugly parts of us, the mistakes, the failures, are just as important as the good parts. They're a part of our story, and without them, we wouldn't be who we are today. Imagine you're holding a map. On this map are all the things that make up who you are, your strengths, your talents, your passions. But there are also the things you struggle with, the things you wish you could change. Maybe you have a quick temper, or you're too hard on yourself. Maybe you're shy or indecisive. Instead of seeing these traits as things to be ashamed of, what if you saw them as areas for growth? What if instead of beating yourself up for not being perfect, you embraced the fact that you are a work in progress? It's like looking at a garden. Some parts are blooming with beautiful flowers, while other parts are overgrown with weeds. You wouldn't abandon the garden just because of the weeds, would you? No, you'd tend to it, nurture it, and over time, those weeds would become manageable. Self-acceptance is the same. It's about recognizing that you are both the flowers and the weeds. You are both your strengths and your weaknesses. And that's okay. It's more than okay. It's human. Think back to when you were a child. Back then, you didn't judge yourself the way you do now. You didn't look in the mirror and see flaws. You were just you, and that was enough. Somewhere along the way, as we grow up, we start to internalize the voices of others, society, the media, even our own families, telling us that we need to be something different, something better. But the truth is, you don't need to be anything other than who you are. Self-acceptance isn't about giving up on improvement. It's about starting from a place of honesty and compassion for yourself. Number 3, continuous self-improvement. Challenge yourself in small steps. Self-acceptance is the foundation, but growth happens when we challenge ourselves. However, it's important to understand that real, lasting change doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow process, and that's okay. Too often we set grand goals for ourselves, only to feel overwhelmed and give up when we can't achieve them quickly. The Stoics understood that true progress is made in small, manageable steps. Think about it. If you were climbing a mountain, you wouldn't try to leap to the top in one giant step, would you? No, you'd take it one step at a time, carefully making your way upward. The same is true for personal growth. The key is to start small. When we challenge ourselves to improve, it doesn't have to be a massive overhaul of our lives. In fact, the most lasting changes often come from the smallest steps. Remember the first time you learned to ride a bike. At first it seemed impossible. You wobbled, you fell, you probably scraped your knees a few times. But with each attempt, you got a little better. That's the nature of self-improvement. It's not about perfection, but progress. It's about setting small, achievable goals and celebrating the little victories along the way. Take a moment to think about something in your life that you'd like to improve. Maybe it's something small, like wanting to be more patient in your interactions with others, or something bigger, like building a healthier lifestyle. Whatever it is, break it down into bite-sized pieces. If you want to be more patient, start by pausing for just a few seconds before responding when you feel irritated. If you want to get healthier, start with a short daily walk, not a marathon. Epicurus once said, "No great thing is created suddenly." This is a reminder that patience is key when it comes to self-improvement. We live in a world that values instant results, but real growth takes time. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And the best part, every small step you take adds up over time, bringing you closer to the person you want to become. Think back to a time when you achieved something that made you proud. Maybe it was finishing a project at work, learning a new skill, or even just sticking to a small goal you set for yourself. Remember how it felt to reach that milestone, knowing that you had put in the effort and made progress no matter how small. That feeling of accomplishment is one of the most powerful motivators we have, and it comes from challenging ourselves little by little. Curiosity plays a huge role in this process. When we challenge ourselves to grow, we're essentially asking the question, what am I capable of? It's about pushing the boundaries of our comfort zone and discovering new strengths we didn't know we had. The Stoics believed in the power of continuous self-improvement, but they also believed in doing it with wisdom and patience. Number 4, focus on your journey. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday. In a world where we're constantly bombarded with images of other people's success, it's easy to get lost in comparison. You scroll through social media, see someone's highlight reel, their new car, their promotion, their perfectly curated vacation photos, and suddenly your life doesn't feel so great. You begin to question yourself. Am I doing enough? Why haven't I achieved what they have? But here's the truth. Comparing yourself to others is a game you'll never win because you're not living their life. You're living yours. And the only person you should be comparing yourself to is the person you were yesterday. Imagine you're running a race, but instead of looking ahead, you're constantly looking to the side, checking to see how fast everyone else is going. What happens? You lose focus, trip over your own feet, and fall behind. The same thing happens in life. When we compare ourselves to others, we lose sight of our own journey, our own progress, and we start feeling inadequate. But what if, instead of comparing yourself to others, you compared yourself to your past self? What if the only race you were running was with the person you were yesterday? Think back to a time when you achieved something small but meaningful. Maybe you finally started that hobby you've always wanted to try, or you stuck with a workout routine for a few weeks, or you had a difficult conversation that you had been avoiding. Those moments may not seem like much when compared to someone else's grand success, but they are your moments. They are milestones in your journey, and they matter. The Stoics believed in focusing on what's within your control, and your journey is entirely yours. Every day is a new opportunity to improve just a little bit, to make progress toward becoming the best version of yourself. The key here is to stop focusing on the external, what others are doing, what others have, and turn inward. Are you kinder today than you were yesterday? Are you more patient? Did you handle a difficult situation better than you would have a year ago? These are the comparisons that truly matter. Nostalgia often hits when we think back to a younger version of ourselves, the dreams we had, the person we thought we'd become. Sometimes it can feel like we've fallen short of those expectations. But if you look closely, you'll see how far you've come. Maybe you didn't end up where you thought you would, but the road you've traveled has been full of lessons, growth, and change. Comparing yourself to others robs you of the chance to appreciate your own journey. Life is not a straight line, and everyone's path is different. Think of a tree. A tree doesn't compare itself to the other trees in the forest. It simply grows at its own pace, reaching for the sunlight, adapting to its surroundings, and standing tall through storms. You are like that tree. Your growth, your journey is unique to you. You don't need to be the tallest tree in the forest. You just need to keep growing one branch at a time. Imagine sitting down with your past self, maybe from 5 years ago or even just a year ago. What would they say about who you are today? Would they be proud of how far you've come? Would they be surprised at the challenges you've overcome? This is the comparison that matters. When you focus on your own journey, you gain perspective. You start to see that life isn't a competition with others. It's a personal journey of growth, learning, and self-discovery. Curiosity plays a big role in this. When you stop comparing yourself to others, you can start asking yourself the right questions. What am I capable of? How can I improve today? What can I learn from my past self? These are the questions that lead to real progress. The Stoics believed that life is about continuous improvement, but it's improvement on your terms, not anyone else's. So the next time you catch yourself comparing your life to someone else's, pause, take a deep breath, and remember, the only person you should compare yourself to is the person you were yesterday. Number 5, empowerment through responsibility. Take charge of your life. Now, let's talk about responsibility, specifically taking responsibility for your own life. This can be a tough pill to swallow because, let's face it, life is full of challenges, some of which are beyond our control. But here's the secret. While you can't always control what happens to you, you can control how you respond, and that in itself is empowering. Think of a time when things didn't go your way. Maybe you lost a job, experienced a breakup, or faced some other kind of setback. In those moments, it's easy to feel powerless, to point the finger at someone or something else and say, "This isn't my fault." And maybe it isn't. But here's the thing. Blaming external forces won't change your situation. It won't move you forward. What will move you forward is taking responsibility for how you respond to the situation. This is what the Stoics meant by empowerment through responsibility. When you take charge of your life, you stop waiting for things to happen to you and you start making things happen for you. It's a shift in mindset. You're no longer a passive participant in your own life, but an active one, and that's a powerful place to be. Instead of waiting for the perfect opportunity, you create it. Instead of hoping that things will get better, you work to make them better. This is the essence of empowerment. Imagine you're holding the steering wheel of a car. That car is your life and you're the driver. Sure, there are times when the road will be bumpy, or you'll hit traffic, or even find yourself at a dead end, but you're still the one in control. You decide whether to take a detour, to keep going, or to stop and reevaluate. You can't control the road, but you can control how you navigate it. Think back to a moment in your life when you faced a difficult decision. Maybe it was a career change, or a relationship choice, or even just a personal goal you wanted to pursue. In that moment, you had two options. You could let fear or doubt dictate your decision, or you could take charge and make the choice that felt right for you. That's empowerment through responsibility. It's about owning your choices, even when they're tough. It's about recognizing that while life may throw curveballs your way, you always have the power to choose how you respond. Responsibility doesn't mean you're to blame for everything that happens in your life. It means you're responsible for how you handle it. And that's incredibly liberating. When you stop waiting for external circumstances to change and start focusing on what you can control, your actions, your mindset, your choices, you unlock a new level of personal power. Nostalgia often reminds us of times when we felt powerless, times when things happened to us and we didn't know how to respond. But here's the beauty of taking responsibility. You realize that you've had the power all along. It's like the Wizard of Oz, where Dorothy learns that she always had the ability to return home. You too have always had the power to take charge of your life, even when it didn't feel like it. Now, curiosity comes into play again. When you start taking responsibility for your life, You become curious about what's possible. You start asking yourself, what else can I do? What new opportunities can I create? How can I turn this challenge into a stepping stone? This mindset shift opens up a world of possibilities because you're no longer waiting for life to happen, you're making life happen. The Stoics believed in focusing on what's within your control, and taking responsibility for your life is the ultimate expression of that philosophy. It's about recognizing that while you can't control everything, you can control something. And that something, your choices, your actions, can make all the difference. So take a deep breath, grab the steering wheel, and remember, you are in charge of your own life. As we wrap up, remember that the journey to self-awareness, growth, and personal empowerment doesn't happen overnight. It's a continuous process of observing, accepting, and challenging yourself day by day. By applying these Stoic principles, you're not only unlocking your potential, but also embracing a more meaningful and fulfilled life. It's not about perfection, it's about progress, no matter how small.